Welcome back to the deep dive. We spent a lot of time sifting through sources, and there's one urgent question that just keeps coming up. It crosses every domain.
Hmm.
And it's the question everyone asks when they feel that pull towards something new. A new project, a different career, a life pivot. It's always, what should I do?
Where should I serve?
Exactly. Which role best fits my gifts right now? And these are sincere questions. They feel really urgent.
They are. And they're necessary questions. That urgency is what drives action. But what's so fascinating in the sources we've gathered is this argument that, well, if you only focus on that question, your whole endeavor is probably going to collapse.
Okay, yeah.
They all point to this quieter, more decisive question that's sitting right underneath all that urgency.
And that is.
It's the question that really determines if your sense of purpose matures or just, burns out. And the question is, who am I becoming?
Okay, let's unpack that, because that is a huge reorientation of how we think about being ready for something.
It is.
Most of us, I think, we assume readiness is about capability. Can I do the job? Do I have the skills, the platform?
The resume.
The resume, yes.
Yeah.
So our mission in this deep dive is to explore these sources that argue readiness for any kind of high leverage work starts somewhere else entirely. Not with opportunity, not with capability, but with character. With who you are on the inside.
Mm.
We're really diving into this critical misalignment between calling the doing and becoming, which is the essential work of who you are. I mean, just think about the modern pressure. You see it everywhere. Startups, nonprofits, any high demand field. There's this unspoken rule, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
If you're willing, if you're available, and you look gifted, then you're ready.
You're in. The system rewards what it can see. Readiness that can be demonstrated.
Competence, a good brand, things that look like success. But it's all external. It's not that deep internal formation that has to be cultivated slowly, in private.
Exactly. We've inverted the entire process. And that inversion, it has these immediate, very real consequences.
Such as?
Well, when you start chasing the function over the formation,
Yeah.
figuring out what to do next becomes this incredibly high-stress event.
Right.
You're standing at this crossroads, you feel all this external pressure, and you're trying to sort of squeeze your character development into the margins.
Yeah, I'll get to that later.
I'll work on my integrity on my next vacation, maybe. It becomes secondary. And that's the danger in a nutshell.
Okay.
The research is pretty clear. When your external activity you're doing outruns your internal growth, sure, activity might spike for a while.
It looks good.
It looks great. Your influence might expand, but your actual authority gets thinner and thinner. Your depth just erodes. So what looks like readiness is often just, well, it's spiritual immaturity dressed up in talent and urgency.
So if we want to build something that lasts, a life or a career, we have to flip that conventional wisdom.
We have to.
Readiness doesn't begin when you get the assignment. It begins with internal alignment, with character, not just capability.
Stop asking what you need to learn to do the job.
And start asking who you need to be to sustain it. And when you go looking for this principle, the sources point to this incredibly consistent historical pattern.
It's everywhere.
In almost every major case of, profound, sustained influence, formation comes first. Deep formation precedes function. The person is prepared in obscurity before they're positioned in the spotlight.
And that hidden work, it's not a detour. It's the prerequisite. It's what keeps you from self-destructing when you finally get the power or the success.
So give us an example.
Well, what's fascinating is how deliberate it is. Let's take a figure like Moses. Before he ever stands in front of Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world, and demands freedom for an entire nation.
Right.
He spends 40 years in the desert of Midian. 40.
And remember, he was a prince of Egypt. He already had the best training, the highest education imaginable.
He had all the capability. But it wasn't enough, was it? The sources suggest he needed the desert. He needed it to teach him things like restraint and patience and just sheer endurance.
Because his first attempt at leadership
was a disaster. It was an impulsive act of violence. He thought he could do it in his own strength. So the desert had to strip all of that away. He learned to manage a flock of sheep, which, that's maybe the best training for managing millions of difficult people.
That's a powerful modern parallel, isn't it? How many leaders fail because they have all the skills but zero restraint? They just react to everything.
Precisely. Or look at David. He gets anointed as the future king when he's just a boy in a field. But he doesn't get the throne for years. And where does he spend that time?
On the run, hiding in caves.
living as a fugitive. And this wasn't just him waiting around. This is the curriculum. It was intense training in faithfulness and critically in restraint. He had chances to kill his enemy, Saul, to take the throne by force.
But he wouldn't do it.
He refused. And if you look at the Psalms, the most profound parts of his legacy, they were born in those messy, hidden years. They show a soul just wrestling with everything: trauma, fear, betrayal.
So that struggle was what shaped his character.
Exactly. So that when he finally did take the throne, he was a man who could handle power without becoming a complete tyrant. The real work was in his heart, long before the crown was on his head.
And there's Joseph.
Ah, Joseph. That's the ultimate lesson in management, really. He's given these huge dreams of authority as a young man. But then what happens?
Betrayal, slavery, prison, just one thing after another.
And those years in the pit, in the prison,
Hmm.
the sources framed them not as delays, they were his discipleship.
They were forming him.
They were forming a man who could eventually wield immense political power, saving entire nations from famine without giving in to vengeance against the very people who wronged him. That's the internal strength you need to survive success.
So if we're looking for the ultimate benchmark for this, it has to be Jesus.
Without a doubt.
And the numbers are they're
Yeah.
striking. It's a quiet rebuke to our whole culture of acceleration. 30 years of formation. 30. Largely unseen.
Growing in wisdom and stature.
Preceded only 3 years of public ministry. 3. If the Son of God, the model of perfect integrity, did not shortcut the work of becoming, why do we assume we can? Why do we think we can just skip that and jump straight to the platform?
And that's where this pattern connects directly to our modern cultural moment. We live in a climate that is completely shaped by acceleration.
Everything is instant.
Instant feedback, rapid visibility on social media, constant crippling comparison. Our culture trains us to equate speed with faithfulness. If you're not moving fast, you feel like you're failing.
And it's not just speed, it's the pressure to curate a successful story. Everyone's highlight reel is immediate, which makes your own slow, messy process feel like a total failure.
We're all being pressured to launch before we're built.
Yeah.
But the divine pace is fundamentally different. The sources insist that God is never rushed.
Yeah.
And neither is the preparation of people for meaningful work. That gap, that sometimes agonizing time between the promise and the fulfillment.
That's sacred space.
It's sacred space. It's where trust is forged and your identity is reshaped, usually far away from the spotlight.
It's fascinating because you're reframing the very things we resist. The delay, the obscurity, that job that feels beneath us.
That's often divine method, not divine neglect. Obscurity protects the heart from pride, from the corruption that comes with premature exposure. It makes sure that when the platform arrives, the person is actually durable enough to handle it.
But hold on, let me push back on that for a second. If I wait forever for perfect character, doesn't that just become an excuse for doing nothing? Where's the line between patience and procrastination?
That's a great question, and it's a critical distinction. The line isn't perfection, it's readiness. Waiting doesn't mean sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Right.
It means actively developing your character in whatever situation you're in right now. Joseph wasn't passive. He was managing a household, then he was managing a prison. He was proving his faithfulness in unseen responsibilities.
That distinction changes everything. It turns waiting from a punishment into a curriculum. So here's the really provocative insight from all this. The tragedy isn't waiting too long for the right thing. It's stepping forward too soon with an unformed character.
What if the greatest threat to your calling isn't saying no, but saying yes too quickly?
Moving before you're ready to sustain the weight of it.
So if calling starts with becoming, we have to completely redefine what readiness looks like. It's not measured by opportunity or by what other people say about you or by numbers.
Right, those are results, not the foundation.
Exactly. So the sources give us new criteria, a new benchmark.
And what are they?
Well, readiness is measured by the depth of your obedience when no one is watching, the consistency of your character when you're under stress.
Your capacity to suffer a setback without becoming bitter.
Yes. Your willingness to wait without striving and manipulating things, and just your faithfulness in the boring, unseen, mundane stuff.
It reminds me of Paul's instruction to Timothy, the young leader. Pay close attention to your life and your doctrine.
Life comes first. Life precedes labor. If your internal system is unstable, the work, no matter how brilliant, will eventually crumble.
And we see the cost of ignoring this everywhere. Immensely gifted leaders who pursue impact without integrity, and the result is always the same.
Burnout, moral compromise, disillusionment for everyone involved. The work actually deforms the person because the person wasn't formed enough for the work.
It's a fundamental mismatch.
A mismatch between capacity and assignment.
Okay, so we don't want to just leave you with this big philosophical shift. We need a practical tool. And the sources suggest something they call the calling inventory.
Right. It's an introspective practice designed to help you surface that deeper question we started with. Who am I becoming?
And it focuses on 3 areas of self-examination.
The first is motivation mapping. You have to honestly look at what's driving you. Is it a God-centered, purpose-like love or faithfulness, a real desire to serve? Or is it a self-centered desire?
So practically, if I do this exercise and I'm honest, I might find that 90% of my drive for a new project is actually fear. Fear of being seen as irrelevant.
And that's a self-centered driver.
So what do I do with that information?
The sources would say you pause the project until you address the engine. The goal isn't to kill all ambition. It's to re-anchor it. Because if you launch something fueled by fear, that project becomes all about validating your self-worth. And that pressure will crush you.
Got it. Okay, the second area, fear identification.
This is where you name the specific fears that are messing with your timeline. Fear of inadequacy, fear of failure, fear of rejection.
They are powerful drivers.
So powerful. Think of Moses again at the burning bush. He's full of excuses. He's terrified. His fear and his calling exist in the same space. God calls us to reliance, not self-confidence.
So identifying the fear doesn't dismiss the calling.
No, it illuminates the exact area where your character needs to grow. If you run from the fear, you're running from the growth.
And the third area?
Expectation alignment. This one is huge. You have to literally write down your expectations for success, your own, and the ones you've absorbed from the culture, and then compare them to the historical patterns of preparation we've been talking about.
Because culture tells me success should be fast, visible, high growth.
Right. But if you hold on to those expectations while God is leading you through 5 years of quiet, hidden growth, you will interpret God's process as failure.
And that's the fast track to burnout.
It's the primary engine of burnout. You have to align with God's timeline, not the culture's frantic one.
So this whole shift, this inventory, it doesn't stop action. It just anchors it in something that will actually last. It's an intentional pause to listen.
That's right. Because in the end, a calling isn't a finish line you cross. It's not a title you get. It's an ongoing, lifelong process of formation. Being shaped. The process of becoming is the purpose.
That's the perfect final takeaway. When your purpose is anchored in who you are becoming, comparison loses its grip. Urgency gets put in its proper place. And those seasons of waiting, they're no longer wasted time. They become meaningful, sacred preparation for what's to come.
And we're all invited to trust that God's top priority is our Christ-likeness, not just our external effectiveness. So here's the profound question to take with you. What if readiness in God's economy is measured less by your availability and more by your surrender?